These 5 cubes used to be amazing, but now barely anyone uses them. From having incredibly outdated hardware to getting replaced by newer models, these 3x3s are definitely no longer what they used to be. So let's go from the ones that are still somewhat usable to the ones that have aged terribly. And to begin, we have the WRM version 9 20 magnet ball core. This cube was released in January 2024, but the next version was released just 4 months later. Therefore, it became outdated very quickly, with the upgrades being far too good on the newer model for anyone to even consider getting the V9 over the V10. However, for the people who bought this to begin with, it is still a decent cube with above average turning and rather decent corner cutting. I mean, I would definitely recommend not getting it over the newer versions, but considering this is still usable, it is nowhere near as bad as some of the cubes later on this list. And if I were to be making this video in a couple of months, I would guess that the V10 will suffer a similar fate as Moyu have just released the V11. But that is yet to happen, so we can move on to the next cube on this list, which is the YS3M. When this cube came out, it was marketed as a semi-flagship, not quite mid-ranged, but also not quite premium cube. And this is an issue because other 3x3s are much more aligned with specific categories, meaning that people know what they are getting. With the YS3M, it did actually perform well with a smooth feel, reliable corner cutting and a good level of control, but there were 2 main problems: the price and the features. At the time, the RS3M V5 was released just a couple of months later, and once that came out, the YS3M just didn't make sense for anyone anymore. I mean, they both have pretty much the exact same features, with the RS3M being nearly half the price. So whilst it is still usable and even quite good if you already own it, the cube fell off hard once more competitive options arrived at lower prices, and realistically, this is no one's first choice in 2025. Just before we look at the third cube on this list, if you're enjoying this video and want to see more like it, then consider becoming a member, where you will gain access to exclusive uploads every single month. There are already 4 of these videos for you to watch, plus a bunch of extra features. So click the join button below or go to the top link in the description to become a member. But moving on, and now we've got the Tornado version 3. This was a pretty big release when it came out, with smooth turning, high stability and decent corner cutting, which a lot of cubers liked. I mean, I even thought that this was one of the best 3x3s to ever be released. That was until it was completely overshadowed by the Tornado version 4. The V4 fixed basically everything the V3 struggled with, especially in terms of stability and overall performance. It somehow made the V3 feel loose and flexible with restricted corner cutting, and the shift wasn't gradual either, with people immediately dropping the previous model when the newer one came out. The difference is just obvious. Whilst it is a good cube by 2022 standards, it hasn't held up to the expected qualities of 2025 flagships, especially when the V4 exists and does literally everything better. But next up we have the WRM 2021, and this is where we start getting into cubes that really have not aged well at all. When this came out, it was genuinely impressive, being one of the first cubes to really push that ultralight, super agile feel, but that came at a cost, which was stability. The cube just isn't controllable enough by today's standards. It's prone to catches, overshooting, and definitely doesn't hold up under fast turning like more modern offerings. At the time it felt innovative, but now it just feels outdated. You'll notice no one really uses this cube anymore, and that's because once more balanced 3x3s like the WRM V9 and RS3M V5 came out, the 2021 model was instantly forgotten. And just before we go on to the final cube, you'll notice that 3 of the 4 so far have been Moyu, which really shows that when you focus on releasing many 3x3s in such a short space of time, it makes them become outdated very quickly. And that's an issue for the customers, because people are not going to be satisfied with buying products to then have to replace them within just a few months. So it will be interesting to see if Moyu start to release puzzles at a lower frequency in the coming years. But finally, we have the GAN 356 XS, which is a cube that didn't just age badly, it got completely left behind. Back in 2019, this 3x3 was considered top tier. It had changeable magnets, a lightweight design, and that premium GAN feel everyone was after. But as soon as the GAN 11M Pro was released, it became irrelevant. The XS just didn't have the performance, corner cutting, or consistency to compete anymore. To be fair, 2019 was a long time ago in terms of cubing, but the drop off here was much faster than anything I have ever seen before. GAN made so many improvements so quickly that the XS went from flagship to forgotten in less than a year, and today it's just not a cube that anyone would consider usable, let alone recommend. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.